everyone, welcome to another Underrated Film Saturday, and I can safely say that I am back online for doing my videos because I am not sick anymore, or at least I'm not sick to the point where I can barely squeeze out sentences without sounding like a nasally robot. So I'm going to try to do all of the videos that need to be done up to today. So that means 4 videos will be coming to you today, uploaded. And I have them sort of all planned out. And I hopefully will be able to have them all to you by the end of this evening. But yeah, that's really my plan, and I planned to stick to it yesterday, but my sickness was not cooperating with me, and I thought to myself, okay, I need some sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep. And so I went to sleep, and I think that really helped. So I think it goes without saying that sleep is the best medicine. But without further ado, let me discuss what I wanted to sort of discuss today for this Underrated Film Saturday. And that is Fantasia 2000. Now you might be saying, Michelle, how does this anyway relate to Christmas, the holidays, the New Year, or to any of the stuff that we associate with when it comes to this time of year? Well, there are some skits actually within Fantasia 2000 that sort of reflect a little bit of the time period of winter and Christmas. The whales scene is a perfect example, or skit, I guess you could say. I guess you divide them up into sequences, or yeah, I guess you could say the whale sequence is one that stands out to me as being one of resembling winter, especially when it takes in a very cold landscape. Also, there is, I believe, sort of I guess you could consider it a toy segment where it's supposed to revolve actually around a story that was written, and it sort of revolves around sort of a similar tone to the Nutcracker, except this time it's a soldier versus a Joker, like a Joker Jack in the Box, and they sort of fight, and the soldier fights to protect this one ballerina doll, and yeah, it's kind of, it sort of resembles a little bit of what we associate with during this time of year, and there's a lot of magical elements within this particular Fantasia, as well as the original Fantasia, except I put the original Fantasia to be in the classic category because, again, although I do find the first Fantasia better, I still think that Fantasia 2000 is a very good follow-up to Fantasia and kind of sort of represents the feel of Fantasia. Even though, again, it is not as epic or grand or grandioso, it still has the little hints of magic and wonder that we associate with when it comes to Disney and sort of the holidays and fantasy. So that's why I consider this film to be one that I think is worthy of a recommendation around this holiday season. Now, the reason why I think this film in particular got pushed under the bus was the time period when this came out. This came out in 2000, you guessed it. Disney, as you probably know from the time, wasn't really doing all too well in 2000, meaning their animated studio wasn't doing all that well. This is really when 2000 hits is when we see sort of more of the rise of Pixar and more of the fall of the Disney animated studios, especially when we got films like Atlantis and other films that didn't really capture the same level of attention, which is unfortunate because I don't think those films are as awful as people make them out to be, but at the same time, it's again not of the same, I think, quality standard that Disney initially had. And I can understand why, as a result, this film was kind of pushed aside and not really looked into. Also, the fact that Disney was coming out with all these different sequels, it was often it was probably a big deterring factor for audiences, especially um, when they sort of see the sellout aspect to it. And that sellout aspect is another reason why I think this film got pushed under the bus, and that's the celebrity appearances within the film. Throughout the film, there's a bunch of celebrities that come on and blah 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 about certain things. And yes, this is very annoying, and yes, this is where you should really skip it and not even bother trying to reason as to why Disney would do something like this, but apparently they did, so that's really, I think, a big deter that resulted in this film being pushed under the bus. But despite those things that you could legitimately argue against the film, originally the concept of the film and what the film is about and what it does to execute those various segments, I think really works. There's a lot of variety. There's all these different things that kind of resemble sort of the traditional Disney animation, and you have still some incorporation of techniques that animators were really using at the time. That's, I think, a little bit more computer, at least from the whales. I don't think that's completely 2D from what I could tell. So again, there's a lot of things within this film that I think a lot of people can enjoy, and sort of takes them back to that whimsicalness that we associate with Disney and that we associate with this time of year. Especially when there are certain skits that, again, do sort of revolve around this winter time um, or around sort of some kind of fantasy. So, again, I think it only makes sense that this film uh, should be praised for what it is, and then, again, taking that whole celebrity portion aside, I think if you really took that out of the film, it would, I think, hold up a lot better among audiences. But really, honestly, I think that's really the biggest criticism that people had, and I could understand why this film, as a result, got pushed under. But I personally feel that even though those things are there, I don't think it destroys the magic that the animators end up putting on the screen. So, again, it's just one of those things where you just cut away and you know that um, and you know where the true entertainment lies. And that's kind of what I saw with Fantasia 2000, and why I think it's still worthy of looking into. I'm sure there's some of the segments that are online that you could find. Definitely the whales one, I think, is one of the standouts, as well as I think she's supposed to be like a nymph, a garden, or a forest kind of nymph person thing, um, who protects the forest, and then she has um, some fire breathing. I think it's supposed to be like some kind of a bird, like sort of chasing after her, and it sort of looks like a volcano, and you see the sort of the destruction. And again, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of funny, cutesy little moments, especially this segment involving Donald and Noah's Ark. Um, are some of the musical choices maybe a little bit off? I would say slightly, um, a little bit more so, obviously, than I think, again, the original Fantasia, which I consider to be a classic. This is kind of a good follow-up. It does what a good follow-up should do, but it's not of the same standard, I think, as Fantasia. But at the same time, I still think it's worthy of some recognition and of some praise for what the segments provide. And I think it does mostly what a good follow-up does. And again, I think it knew that it couldn't try to compare itself with the original, so it had to kind of go for a more I guess you could argue, subtle approach, even though again, you could make an argument against that, especially with the celebrity cameos. But if you took the celebrity cameos out of it, I think you would see the real art behind the film, and that's really my understanding behind it. And I totally understand if people are turned off by it because of the celebrity appearances, of the tediousness. And again, I understand if there are some segments that are obviously not as strong as others, but at the same time, I think it does what a good follow-up should do. It doesn't try to um, heighten the original, but at the same time, sort of pay tribute to it, and at the same time, kind of give its own personal touch to it. And I think that's what the animators knew that they had to do with this one, because they knew that they couldn't compare to the original, which I think is okay, because I don't think a sequel means that it needs to be better. I just think it needs to be good on its own. And I think that's what Fantasia 2000 is, if you really look at it from that perspective. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video, which I will be uploading today. And I'm going to get caught up. But until next time, everybody, bye-bye.